Welcome to the Discovery Within podcast, where we explore the depths of self discovery and personal growth. I am your host, Tiarra Denise.
And I'm your co host, LJ the PeaceMaker. And this is episode 24 of the Discovery Within podcast. And we'll be talking about making room for authentic growth. And Happy New Year, first and foremost. I'm so excited for this new year. And I know there's so much to come. And also, part of growth and making space is really acknowledging all that you've accomplished and celebrating where you're at right now. So I'd like to take a moment to celebrate us for episode 24 of the Discovery Within podcast because this is a bi-weekly podcast, so that means 48 consecutive weeks we've been getting it done. We've been showing up here, so that's amazing, and we deserve a round of applause.
Yeah, that's that work. When I was
Yeah.
doing the title and description the other day, and I noticed I was like episode 24. Okay, that's work, that's progress right there. So that is something to celebrate because who would imagine that we'd be here? We have our own podcast and we're 24 episodes in, and it's a new year. So happy 2K25, everybody. It's a new year. And you know how New Year start off, new year, new goals, new you, all that stuff, that comes along with it. And like LJ said, it's that time to, look at how far you've come and, just look at all the growth that you accumulated in a lifetime this far. And we know when the new year hits, everybody's talking about their goals, what they're going to do, who they're going to leave behind, all that. And it's like, this is the year of growth. Like life is a continuing cycle of growth. And with growth, there's a process. And I think this is a perfect time to even have this conversation about, creating space for authentic growth because, we got to understand that growth, is a process. And I think around this time, when it's the beginning of the new year, everybody's on that, okay, new year, new me, new stuff. What I'm finna do, I gotta push, I gotta grind, I gotta be disciplined, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And I get that. That's where we're at. But, sometimes we get to know when we're looking at where we're at and we're still not at that place that we desire to be in life, we think, oh man, I gotta have it all figured out. I ain't got it figured out yet. So now I gotta push and we're just pushing ourselves. When sometimes it's just you just need to take a moment to rest, to recalibrate. Cause I know for me, it's the new year. I'm excited. I love a good new year. We made it. We here. But I'm in no rush to just dive in and just take immediate action. But that doesn't mean I'm being passive or inactive. I'm using this time for myself personally to, rest, to rejuvenate, recalibrate. Now in the midst of that, I'm still taking inspired action. I'm still out there. I'm still doing things, but it's not on a go, go, go. I'm in no rush to get anywhere. So when you're making space for growth, understand that patience is going to be key. Patience is going to be something that you have to embody on this lifelong journey of growth because when you're out here you're looking around and at how other people what they're doing and you may start to compare your life and what you have going on to someone else's, then that brings on those self-inflicted pressures to want to go out and then be like, man, I'm not doing enough, I'm not here, this person did this, they got that, and then it takes that focus from the work that you could be doing right here in the moment. Because when you take the focus outside of yourself, you take that focus outside of your work and your walk, and you're looking around and seeing what everybody else is doing, then that knocks you off your path. And that takes you from that moment of looking around and seeing what you can do now. And, being grateful and being present and in the moment where you are. Because we was just talking about this before we got on here. Sometimes it's just good for you to be grateful for where you are because where you are right now is where you're meant to be. And if this is you and you're feeling like you're still not at that place where you need to be, know that you are in the right spot. sometimes we can want growth, we can want these things that we desire, but are we truly ready for those things yet? Are we the person we need to be internally? Have we done that in internal work to be able to maintain those desires that we want? We say we want to be here, but have we done that inner work? Because just wanting to be there and doing life and wanting to grow with that frustration, we understand that that comes with the path. But sometimes frustration is a clear indication that, you may be rushing, you may be out of alignment, trying to just rush your path and just grow, grow, grow. And I can honestly speak on that because that's me. I'm ambitious. I'm so ambitious. Sometimes it's sickening. And that's why I'm utilizing this time now to, get, some rest in, because I work, work, work. Just like you said, for last year, 2K25, I was just going hard, just going, 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 doing, burnt myself out. And I said that, this year, well, I didn't say this year. I had started at the end of last year cultivating some new habits. So you got to get ahead of things. Sometimes you got to get out ahead of things. And I was starting to rest back in 2024, preparing for, this transition into 2025, because I know that new growth is here. I know that my new life is here. New avenues, new opportunities are here for me. But I have to make sure I'm prepared to lean into and walk into those things instead of just rushing and diving and thinking, oh yeah, I'm ready. I got to do it. I want to be right. I want to make sure I did that internal work. I'm not trying to go nowhere too fast, because sometimes when you rush too fast, you miss some things along the path. And sometimes when we're in that state of delay, or things not moving fast, they're moving slow, we think that, oh, something is wrong. This is not it. I should be farther than this, trying to rush the process, when that delay or that slowness, it could be a time for you to learn something, or like in my case, to rest. And while I'm resting, I'm getting so much, creative ideas just flowing and jotting them down and stuff. And I'm still out here taking inspired action. I'm sharing, insights and stuff. I'm active, but I'm not pushing myself hard to just go hard and just do, do, do. Getting out of that mindset of thinking I have to be somewhere fast, because growth is a process. And when you get in these moments where you're rushing yourself and you put all these self-imposed, pressures on yourself, that, creates a space for you to not even allow growth to truly just happen authentically, because you're trying to force it. And I think I just said a mouthful, so I'm gonna just sit back for now and
Yes.
I'll build on that.
Yes, yes, you definitely said a lot. And I mean, yeah, it's, us forcing things, it really interrupts that authentic growth. So it's important for us to really recognize that growth is a continuous process. We're constantly growing, we're constantly evolving, and we each are on this very unique, very specific personal path. So our path doesn't look like anybody else's path. And a lot of times we're too focused on how other people are doing it, the way other people are, saying it should be done, or what other people have. Thinking, okay, we got to go after that because this is what is acceptable, or this is what's constantly being shown to me as success, or this is how achievement looks. And, it's for us to really accept the uniqueness of our own path of growth, and that's your authentic path of growth. You know what I mean? It's very personal, very specific to you. And it's like you are made up of all of your life experiences, your unique talents, your unique gifts. And these things are all the summation of who you are. And as unique as that is, so is your path. Your path is equally as unique, and it's for us to really begin to embrace that so that we can understand we don't have to force anything. We don't have to rush. We don't have to stress. We don't have to strain. And granted, life, initially we're all in some sort of survival mode, but this process of authentic growth is really unlearning that, learning a new way of being, and recognizing that we don't have to stress, we don't have to strain, and that these things are all choices. And sometimes we feel like we have to push ahead, we have to force ourselves, when really that's not the natural progression of how growth works. You know what I mean? The flowers, the trees, the things that we see in nature that are growing, they're not stressing and straining. They're, granted, they are exerting effort, to grow. However, it's not a stressful process. And so it's for us to really recognize that, true growth is not about stressing. Granted, yes, it is about goal setting, there is planning required, and there is definitely a high degree of intentionality that we have to put towards what it is that we're working towards or the directions that we want to grow in. However, it's for us to recognize that it's about focus. Are we focused on where we want to go? Just because you're stressing, it doesn't mean that your whole focus is on what you actually want, because a lot of time the stress is created from focusing on what you don't want. You're overly focused on the negative possibility or the negative outcome, or if I don't get this, this may happen. And so with that, we have a tendency to stress ourselves out, and so now with the new year, it's definitely a very opportune time to set new goals, set new patterns into motion. And I know a lot of people set New Year's resolutions. I'm not very big on resolutions per se, because I'm constantly focused on moving forward. So there's constant growth occurring, constantly new things to strive for and to work towards. But it's really important to recognize that, old habits and old patterns don't necessarily fall away by themselves. We have to make space for them. You learn a new habit or instill a new habit by replacing an old one with something new. So a lot of times we're so overly focused on what we want to accomplish. Say I want to get in shape, and I'm like, okay, now I got to go to the gym 3 times a week. But the thing is, if you look at yourself and are honest with what you're currently doing, there's a lot of things that you're doing at present that even if you went to the gym 3 times a week, you still ain't going to hit your goal because you're counteracting yourself. You know what I mean? So I think that one of the primary things that we have to do is really focus on being intentional about creating space. Look at what you're doing right now. Look at how it aligns with what it is you want, and start letting go of some of that stuff. Start replacing it with something healthier, something more beneficial that's in alignment with what it is that you really want. Because, we've all heard the saying, out with the old, in with the new, but ultimately that's how this works. If we're not creating space for something new to come in, then there is no space for something new to come in. You know what I mean? Then we sitting around wondering why something new is not coming in, and it's not coming in because there's so much clutter. So we have to really begin to look at ourselves, take this honest, realistic assessment, and start seeing what we can replace something better, where we can replace something better that's more aligned with what it is that we want. So that way we're facilitating our authentic growth. And again, this is very personal. It's very, authentic, which means it's all about you. It's unique to you. So it's for you to really just be that honest with yourself and assess, okay, what can I let go of? What do I feel like is kind of blocking me in some way? And again, it's not about stressing ourselves out. So you don't have to overthink. It's very simple. You ask yourself this question, immediately something's going to come to mind. Then that's the thing. That's it. Assess that. Okay, this thing maybe I should let go. What can I replace it with? And move on. You know what I mean? Because growth too is constant movement. And you were mentioning how you've been doing a lot of resting at the end of the year leading up to now. And it's important for us to recognize that constant movement and constant progression doesn't mean running around like a chicken with his head cut off. You know what I mean? Because rest, if done intentionally and on purpose, is still making progress. It's still conserving energy. It's still replenishing yourself so that you can continue forward later. You know what I mean? And so it's us really recognizing that this process of growth is continuous, but part of the key to it is the intentionality. What are what is motivating what you're doing? Are you choosing to do this wholeheartedly? And so again, even like with rest is very productive when you're doing it on purpose. You know what I mean? If you just getting up, waking up every day and like, I don't feel like doing nothing today, I'm not going to do nothing. And it's not, you know what, I'm giving myself this day to rest. If you're not putting that intention behind it, then it's not necessarily part of your growth process. However, I know for you and also for me, there was this learning to allow myself to rest that was required. Because at first I felt like, oh, this is something wrong. I'm supposed to be doing this. I got to do this. I got to do that. And through time, I realized, no, you should be resting. Listen to your body, honor yourself. And that was part of my authentic growth process, really learning to embrace that and honor myself and respect the cycles and rhythms of my body. And so,
Mm,
that's all part of it. That's nothing that anyone else could have told me, because somebody else probably would have told me, girl, you got to get up and do this and that. That's not how, you run a business, or that's not how you do this. But as we learn to really just listen to ourselves and embrace the truly unique growth process that we're undergoing, then we learn to honor ourselves more. And we recognize that at the end of the whole thing, we're more productive because you feel more energized, you feel more powerful, and it's not about running amok trying to complete a to-do list. It's about listening to, what the spirit is telling you to do. What the spirit is telling you are the priorities. And most often time, not even most often time, all the time, you're the priority, not a to-do list. You
mhm.
are the priority. If your body's telling you it's time to rest, if your body is telling you it's time to write, if your heart is telling you, okay, it's time to go for a walk, it's like these are the things that really facilitate our growth, because ultimately, this whole life is this journey of becoming. And it's like we're not becoming something else. We're becoming what we were made to be. You're becoming who you truly are. And so ultimately, it's about relinquishing things, letting go of things that are blocking you from your true nature, from your divine essence. And so as we do that, we continue to grow in this authentic way into our truth. And so, I mean, I could keep going and going and going. So I'm like, let me stop right there and save something for you to say.
You touched on so much, and I was just like, "Ooh, ooh, yeah, yeah, that's key, that's key." And when you were talking about blocks, I think that's a huge one because sometimes when we think of blockages, we think of something, that's physically outside of us that's hindering us. We can, tend to put the blame on things outside of us. So things will go right for me if this person wasn't doing this or if this changed and things like, no, what if that thing that needs to change is you? Because we can be our own blockages when it comes to our growth, especially to bring it back to the comparison thing. It's like when you put your focus and energy outside of yourself and you're looking around you instead of looking right ahead, right here, right now on what's going on in your life and the task ahead for you, then your focus is in a place it doesn't need to be. Because it's like you said, like your attention and your focus, if you're constantly focusing on the things or the circumstances or outcome that you don't desire, then that's hindering your growth. And then that's your blockage, your own thoughts. And it's like that repeated cycle because we talked about, your thoughts and your behaviors and certain things within yourself are the actual things that are blocking you from seeing that progress because your focus is not where it needs to be. And it's so easy to just look at everything that's going on outside of you and seeing other people doing great or whatever the case may be. But when you let go of that thing of trying to compare yourself and like you said, focus on your own unique path because everybody has their own unique path. Your path is not supposed to look like anybody else's. And no one can honestly tell you what the blueprint looks like for you. This is not a one sided when it comes to life. There's many avenues that you can go down. And when we talk about those self-imposed pressures, that's where those self-imposed pressures come from because we're looking at other people and we're looking at their life story. We're looking at their script and seeing how their script is playing out for them. And then now we're focusing on them. And okay, that looks like that's working for them. But what's working for them may not work for you. And then now you're knocked off your path. And then that's when the self doubt comes creeping in. And then now you're thinking, okay, well, I'm not even, doing what I'm supposed to do. And Now you're questioning yourself. Now you're not even trusting in yourself and where you are. And I know that was a major issue for me, especially on my path. And I even found myself, doing that yesterday. And I was telling you about it, like in this space of desiring to be ahead of myself or in a certain space. And it's like you feeling like you haven't done enough. And then for me, because I can be a bit of a workaholic, with me having this resting period, it's been a challenge in itself because I'm so used to working. I'm so used to doing. But I had to think about it yesterday, like, what's this pressure? What is this pressure to come and just go do something like you're missing out, or now you in this whole energy of what if, and you're having this battle within yourself when you were just fine. So it's like you said, thinking about those pressures and letting go of those pressures, because it becomes a point where you impose those things on yourself when you don't focus on your path, and then you're listening to all the outside noise, because now you're doing that comparison and not even honoring who you are, because you are uniquely made. And you got to know that the way that you do life is not going to look like anybody else's, and that's okay. That's what makes it unique. And it's like, don't try to, the Cinderella story with the slipper. Don't try to fit your foot in a shoe that's not even your size. You know how they say you can't walk a mile in my shoes? That's somebody else's shoes. We don't all wear the same size shoe. So you got to think about little simple things like that to kind of like help you, get back grounded and make that space. Because when you're operating in that energy of just comparing yourself constantly and looking outside yourself or trying to rush the process, then you miss out on all the abundance that's already around you. And you miss out on all that progress that you make. Because then I had a full 360 where when I was, I journal. Because when I get in those moments, when I'm battling with myself, I know that's the time to go within. It's just a time to go within, because when you're clear on your path, you're clear. And if there's any confusion, then there must be some confusion coming from within. And so there was confusion coming from within me. So I had to sit with that and figure out and get to the bottom of where is this going, because I was just clear the other day. And so I sat, I journaled, I, went outside in nature, because that what helps me to, let go of these things. And by me writing these things out, the thoughts that came up or whatever, the emotions, whatever I was feeling in that moment, I write those things out physically onto paper, and then I can see them. And then, that's when you can get to the bottom of what's really going on, where is this rooted at. And I'm thinking about those self-imposed pressures, even from childhood, having, someone say to you, you're being lazy, and, all those labels from previous conditioning. So I'm thinking, okay, that's from my past. And I'm on this growth journey and I'm in process. So now I'm being more compassionate with myself, and like you are, girl, you doing the damn thing. And I look back at how far I've come. Even when you think you're not working, you're working. Because to sit up here and allow yourself to rest, and it's crazy that we have to get to a point where we actually have to allow ourselves to rest and give ourselves permission to rest. And so I had to remember that this is something new for me. I'm allowing myself this time to rest. And then once I got back into that state of surrender and stopped trying to control the process and move it along how I wanted to move along, I came back to this state of balance, and I came back to this place of clarity, of peace. And I made space for that by me physically writing out what I was going through, writing through this confusion to get to the bottom of it. And that's where I made space, and I can continue on this continuous path of growth. And like now I can look and see how far I've come. So you can apply that same thing in your life, and knowing that you don't have to move or march to the beat of anybody else's drum. Because what's that saying? What they eat don't make you. And that's how life works. It's not a one size fits all. We come in all different shades, all different sizes. So you must know that when it comes to the walk of life and how you're going to get to, and I want to say this because sometimes we get so caught up in the destination. And that's what brings on, this self-doubt and the comparison, because we're seeing other people get to a certain place. Do you know that life is continuous? So once we get to one destination, you'll be going to another. And then after that destination, you'll be going to another. So what's the rush? you might as well enjoy the ride, enjoy the process. And then that helped me to come back into a state of bliss. And I was just so grateful. I'm like, okay, I'm on the right path. I'm at where I need to be at. What am I trying to rush? And I remember like that, those past behaviors and, thoughts of mine, like me wanting to rush through life, like trying to get somewhere fast, like slow down, Speedy, slow down. And that's how I talk to myself. And like, you can bring it back to self-talk when you make space and these moments come up where you're frustrated and you see some of the past behaviors come back in. It's not a time to beat yourself up because those parts will always be a part of you. It'll always be a part of you, but you can now equip yourself with the tools, the mental and emotional strength to be able to navigate through life's different challenges, because like you said, things ebb and flow. And that's how that works. And it's about honoring these different life cycles that we come to. Because, like I said, you're going to go to one destination, you're going to go to another. And that's how growth is. You're going to reach new heights. Sometimes things going to be a little slow. And just because it seems a little slow does not mean growth is not happening. Maybe your growth just needs to be gradual right now, you know, and be grateful for that patience. Gratitude is going to be a major thing when it comes to this, lifelong journey of growth. When you trust in the path that's, ahead of you, you're not going to know everything. It's going to be unknown. But as long as you're trying to fully control something and, oh, it has to be this way, that's when that resistance come in and that friction comes in. Now all that frustration is set up in you, and that's hindering your growth because now you're not even feeling good about the process. And your how you feel matters. I don't care what nobody tells you. How you feel matters. How you wake up every day, that matters. You wake up and all your moves, how you move will be intentional. So for me, yesterday episode of me, slipping back into some old past habits and stuff, I had to say, hold up now, let's check this, because I was just feeling good yesterday. And I understand not every day is gonna be like this. But understanding that I'm in process, I know that this is not a space I want to be in too long. I may be in that space, but I won't be in it for long. So what things are you going to do to get yourself back in that place of feeling good about your journey? Because you want to feel good about your journey. You want to feel good about the life that you're living. But it starts with where you're at now. It starts right now. You can't just want to enjoy life when you get to a certain destination, because right after you get to it, you're going to go somewhere else. So learn how to be grateful where you are now. Love your life however it is. Now, I don't care how draining, how disastrous it looks. If you need to get to safety now, get you some safety. But what I'm saying is, when you're in this space of feeling like you're not where you quite want to be, your environment is not ideal for you, learn how to make where you are at work for you. And when you learn how to make where you're at work for you, that's when you'll start to see the opportunities and things that you want to see to flow in. You'll see just how abundant you already are. You'll start to feel good about waking up no matter what's going on. Somebody could be over here in the corner arguing or trying to get to you or say something to you, but you're focused on your path, your walk, and how you feel. Look, I'm feeling good today. I don't know about you. You can have that. Y'all can argue. Y'all can bicker, but I'm in process. And in my process, there's no room for that. I got to make space for environments that make me feel safe to grow, make me feel safe to be my authentic self, to thrive, to just be while I'm going through this process of growth. And
Yes.
I stop there.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's like, really accepting that now is truly all we have. And so, granted, sometimes we overly focus on a destination, not recognizing that you get to the destination step by step. And with each step, that step occurs now. You know what I mean? Now is when you're moving forward. Now is when you're focused on whatever it is you're focusing on. And so it's this collective moment to moment forward progression that allows you to reach any destination. And so in every given moment, we're practicing patterns of behavior. And if right now I'm not practicing how to be content, how to treat myself right, when I get anywhere, I'm still not going to be doing it because I wasn't practicing that. You know what I mean? So, really recognizing that it's imperative for us to, in each moment, really practice making space, making room for ourselves to grow, for ourselves to improve and to get better and better so that we can be satisfied with who we are and where we're heading. Because ultimately, if you're not happy with yourself, you're not going to be happy with yourself in any destination. Like, it's just simple as that. If I'm not happy with myself in this chair I'm sitting in, then I'm not going to be happy if I move to another location, if I sit in another chair, if I surround myself with other people. So it's really this process of practicing to be content with ourselves, to love ourselves, to treat ourselves right, to value ourselves, to know how wonderful we are. And that all comes through us recognizing first and foremost that life is not, we're not intended to necessarily feel bad in life. You know what I mean? Granted, challenges come up. Sometimes we're stressed out, sometimes we're discontent with ourselves, with maybe something we've done, maybe with the situation. But those are the opportunities for us to create the space, which first, with creating space, requires time. You need to give yourself time to sit down, to stop, to assess what is making me feel this way. Why am I feeling like something's wrong with me right now? Like, look at it. You know what I mean? And as you give yourself that time, that's part of the creating space, because you're carving out room for yourself to assess what's going on. And with that, you're honoring yourself because you're like, hey, I'm worthy for this time to figure this out because I'm feeling kind of weird, and I know that I deserve better. And then additionally, as you mentioned about journaling, that's another means of obtaining clarity and creating space, because as you're writing these things down, you're releasing them from
Mhm.
yourself. And as we release these things, we make space for this authentic growth, because you're now able to see, wait a second, I'm feeling this way because I'm comparing myself to somebody else's story, or maybe I'm feeling this way because of how I was conditioned. I was always told you got to do things this way. Oh, now I see. And then that allows you to get back to this place of peace, which is what the growth is all about. You learning how to really regulate yourself and manage yourself so that you can walk in peace and ultimately live in peace and in contentment, because we're intended to be content wherever we are. It doesn't mean that you love the circumstance that you find yourself in at the moment, but it does mean that you still know you're great. No matter what's going on around you, that you still love and value yourself no matter what's going on. Even when you made a mistake, you're compassionate with yourself. These are all various aspects of being content. And I mean, if we're not practicing how to be content, how to truly love ourselves and be grateful in the present moment, then we'll never be able to be grateful or be content, no matter what external factors occur. No matter what material possessions you achieve, you'll still be feeling empty because you didn't recognize that it was about you filling up, not you filling up your house or your closet or your wardrobe or your bank account. And so, that's what this authentic growth is really about. It's about us recognizing that we're it. We're the thing that we've always been looking for. It's all inside of us. And so, as we carve out this space and give ourselves time and room to really just process, to assess, and to know how important we are, and make ourselves the focal point and the primary thing in our own lives, then we begin to become more empowered, recognizing that, wow, I can steer this life. Wow, I do have the capacity to go after my goals. Wow, now I have clarity on what I actually want because I was doing what they told me I was supposed to do. You know what I mean? So it's really about us getting to this place of honesty with ourselves so that we can walk our own unique path. because we said it repeatedly. This is a unique path. There's no one size fits all, and it's for us to really come to the place where we put our own inner voice before anything else.
Mm.
Listen to yourself. Ask yourself what's going on. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes people have a problem and they call in 20 friends or 20 different people to figure out what they should do. It's like nobody knows what you should do except you, because you're the only one who knows the true intricacies and ins and outs of what's going on and all the thoughts you've been thinking and things like that. And we are all divinely connected. And so it's for us to tap into that spiritual part, tap into the divine, to the voice of God, so that we can figure out what our personal, unique, specific path is. And I mean, we're all one of a kind. So it's like, trust that, know that. And if you're one of a kind, then so is your path.
Yes, and y'all, I don't know if y'all caught when she said, she dropped a major gem when she said putting your inner voice first. And that's where it starts, y'all. That's the foundation of it all. You show up for yourself. It's about being honest and truthful with yourself, because you got to look in that mirror each and every day. And so it starts with your authenticity with yourself and how you walk each and every day in your life when it comes to this path of growth, because you're going to be unlocking and exploring different parts of yourself. And you say you want growth, and we're creating space for authentic growth. Well, then that starts with you going within, listening to that inner voice, because like you said, when sometimes we don't trust our own selves, their own inner voice, we want to go to somebody else and see what they think we should do. I felt so hit when you said that, LJ, because I know that when I have those moments where I feel like things are intense, like I don't know which way to go, and that comes from a state of distrust in self. I'm not listening to my own inner voice, because I guarantee you, you are the first person. You will be the first person to know what it is that you need to do. It's on you to go within yourself and listen to that inner voice, that inner guidance, that inner compass system, because it's within all of us. And so when you don't listen to it and you don't ignore it and you choose to be in a state of confusion, and go against yourself and be like, well, I don't know, well, I feel like this, but you're in and out, you're not trusting that inner voice, and then you want to go to somebody else and get the answers when the answers was already within you. You really didn't have to go outside yourself to seek the answers. If you just sit with yourself and look in the mirror and be honest with yourself and do your own introspection, ask questions, ask them out aloud. You have a connection to a higher power. Speak to that higher power and ask questions and sit and be still and allow that space for the answer to come. Because if you ask for something and you're trying to, I got to get it immediately. Oh, I didn't hear nothing. I don't think I heard it too well. And you're steady trying to chase the answer instead of just allowing the space to clear yourself out of the fog, of the chatter, all that, mental turmoil and all those thoughts that go on in your head. You create that space that you need to hear that inner voice, and you become strong and trusting yourself, because it's going to take a strong amount of you trusting that inner voice and trusting your guidance, your inner guidance, to help you through this process of authentic growth. And you got to think about, what is it do I need to let go of? Because we desire these new things in our lives and we want to be here, we want to be there. But do we ever stop to just sit with ourselves and think about, okay, now say I desire this, these are the new things that I am calling into my life. Okay, now what do I already have in my life that I could let go of now, that I'm not utilizing, or it no longer serves me? And that doesn't always have to be something physical, and it can be physical too. Think about the thoughts that, and ideas that you have roaming through your head every day. And like you said, the self-talk. What kind of talk am I giving myself every day? What kind of talk do I need to let go? Those are the things that help you to create the mental space, the emotional space for your authentic growth to go into. And also physically. Because like for me, when I journal and I'm, manifesting things and calling new things into my life, I have to let go of some things sometimes. And when I'm writing the things out that I'm letting go physically, sometimes you have to do something, let something go physically. So sometimes Even a simple action is just going through your old clothes, seeing what you no longer wear, what you can't fit, and giving them away to someone else. That's an act of making space for authentic growth in a physical sense. And you tie that into it, and now you're actually taking actions to call into new things. Because sometimes we just want and desire these things. We get all this stuff, we accumulate stuff, and it's like you said, go to different heights, and you're still not happy within because you're just accumulating things, and that's just for pleasure. That's in It's not even anything in intentional that's going to help further your process of growth. We're just collecting things, collecting stuff, not taking out the trash, but wanting more, desiring more. But what are we willing to let go? Because when order for something new to grow, you got to get rid of some things. You got to make space for it. If there's a lot of things stacked up on top of each other, there's no room for growth. It's too much. There's no room. So some things have to be taken out. What I did, habits, what behaviors can I be taken out? So the thing with the gym, like, okay, you're gonna work out. You say you want to lose weight. I'm going to the gym 3 times a week. Okay, what other actions are you gonna take along with those steps? Because your diet also plays a part in that as well. So not saying just go cold turkey and just things like that, but it has to be some type of balance in there. It has to be a balance to show that you're actively doing these things and creating the space for your growth. Okay, so you want to reach this goal of losing this weight. Okay, you're going to work out 3 times a week. What else are you going to do? Because we know the diet goes hand in hand. So, what changes can you make to your diet? Can you cut out sodas? Can you cut out the snacking? Can you cut out eating at a certain time? Things like that. Think about all those things that you can cultivate while you're making the space, because it's going to require that. You can't take old things into new territory. The old way and it just won't work. You can't always take those, and not even just your habits. You got to think about people. You desiring new things for your life. You desire to be in spaces where you are free to express yourself authentically and just be free as a butterfly. Who are you around right now? What type of environments are you in right now? Because you desire this and you're upset that you're not seeing it in your reality. But are you eliminating the people, places, and environments that are not serving you? Are the environments that you in now, do they nurture you? Are you in spaces that you feel like you can be your authentic self and you can thrive and be free? If not, then you're not making the space for it. You desire something new, but you have not done any action, because you also have to, be about it to show that you want to do this. But it always leads back to self. Are you creating a safe space for yourself to be your authentic self? Because it starts with you. You don't have to wait for your outside environment to give you permission to be your authentic self and for you to thrive. That's a you thing. You have to be the one to give yourself permission. So, are you creating that space to have those harmonious relationships and connections where you can thrive, where you can grow, you can collaborate? Are you doing that with yourself? Is that happening right now with yourself? Because you got to think about your mental and your emotional. You are the only one that's gonna be with you for the rest of your life, and I'll keep saying that. So, how do you speak to yourself? How are you talking to yourself? How do you feel? How do you want to feel when you get up? Did you create a safe space for you to thrive today, to be in a space of peace, to be, clear and intentional about how you're moving? Have you created that space for yourself? It's an inward thing. That's that journey within.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, you said, did you create the space for you to be clear? And I think that that is so key, because you can't be clear in clutter. You know what I mean? And so we hear clutter and we typically just think of material things, but really recognizing that we're born into this world without nothing but ourselves. You know what I mean? You're born, you don't have a bunch of baggage, not emotionally, not physically. And so really recognizing that throughout life we begin to take on these things, different attitudes, different habits, and holding on to physical things as well, to make ourselves feel whole and complete when we already started out whole and complete. So we don't need all those things to really fulfill us. It just has to do with our perspective, and so creating space has to do with being able to let go. We have to relinquish our hold on certain things so that we can make space for new things. And I mean, I know last year had so much to do with letting go. And at one point, God said to me, stop hoarding. And I'm like, hoarding? I thought hoarding was like that show on TV where you have like your whole house looks crazy. And it's like, no, God was like, no, hoarding is holding on to anything you don't need. If you don't need these things, let it go. Whether it be a material thing, whether it be extra business cards in your wallet, like just all these different things. And it really broadened my perspective. And my perspective was only broadened because I was willing to let go of the old mindset, let go of what I thought previously hoarding meant. Now I'm willing to accept this new mindset, but it's like it happens simultaneously as you let go of an old perspective or mindset, then you receive a new one. And so, now I recognize that I don't need to hold on to anything that I don't need. If I need it right now in the moment, then that's great. And I have everything I need in the moment. But we tend to hold on to all these things for later, for a rainy day, for just in case, for maybe, and not recognizing that all that stuff is creating blockage. It's giving us this sense of peace, this sense of security that is based on those things, and it's not an internal feeling that's coming from us, from the truth, or from this place of surrender, or us knowing that we are complete, that we are everything we need. And so, life is consistently this process of us being able to let go of the material things we're holding on to, and also of these mindsets, of these false ideals, these false understandings, these previous dispositions that, granted, they probably served us up until now, but to continue forward and to go higher, we have to be willing to let go of certain things so that we can receive a new perspective. You know what I mean? And we've all heard the saying, you got to believe it to achieve it. And if you believe, you'll receive. But really recognizing that a lot of times our beliefs are conflicting. I may say, oh, I believe I should have this. I believe that, I don't know, I should be a great speaker. But then I'm not speaking anywhere. Or every time an opportunity comes up, I shy away because I'm afraid. So it's like, internally, I clearly don't believe that that's for me. And so, granted, that's okay. We all got to start somewhere. But the starting point is really accepting that I'm holding on to some sort of limitation in my mind that's blocking me from where I want to go. And, as you mentioned before, sit with yourself and ask questions, because God is with us. Ask and it will be given. And oftentimes we think that that means the physical manifestation of what we want. No, it's usually the answer to the question you just asked. So now you know what you got to do. You know what I mean? Because manifestation is really all about us putting in the work. And it don't mean hustling, it don't mean grinding. It means spiritually aligning to what it is that you're saying you want, because this journey is one of becoming. So it's like it's about you becoming what you say you're about, becoming it to the fullness where you ain't blocking yourself, because there's no conflict in you. There's no dispute or no disparity. I am this, and I'm going to have everything that belongs to that me, that version of myself. And so we're constantly just continuing to grow into fuller and fuller degrees of ourselves, but so much of it has to do with relinquishing these old mindsets. And awareness is the key. You're not going to let go of something if you're not aware that you're holding on to it. And so typically that awareness space is a little uncomfortable when you get to look at yourself and you're like, damn, I was blocking me. I don't like that. Man, I thought I was smarter than that, or I thought I was doing better than that. And that all those feelings are natural, but the objective is not to stay there. purpose of awareness, or us being able to confront ourselves, is so that we can let that old mindset go, or the old way of thinking go, and grab hold of a new one, grab hold of something higher. Because now, once we see ourselves, once we are confronted with the old way that we were looking at things, now our eyes have been opened to a new way. I don't have to choose that anymore. I can choose something different. And so, that's part of this letting go process. Sometimes letting go hurts. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's not fun, but it's not a permanent state. You know what I mean? It's just part of the process, part of the feelings that we have throughout this life, and really being able to accept that. To know, okay, even as you were mentioning how you were, having to allow yourself to rest. I know that feeling as well. That was uncomfortable. It's like, wait, I'm supposed to be resting. Yeah, physically I'm laying down over here, but my mind is like wrestling with me. Like, I'm exerting a whole lot of energy trying to convince myself that it's okay for me to be over here resting. And it's like, that was what was bringing me into awareness. It was showing me, hold on a second. You know that resting is good, but part of you, it wants to fight it. What's that part? What's going on? And I accept it. I'm going to figure it out while I'm forcing myself to rest in this moment, because I'm not going to have these weird feelings or things telling me that what I'm doing is inappropriate when I know this is the best thing for me right now. So I think sometimes we have to be willing to sit in that discomfort for a minute. That don't mean live there, and it doesn't mean that all life should be uncomfortable and you should always be in discomfort. But sitting in the discomfort for a second so that you can assess it, so that you can process what's actually going on, and so that you can allow the growth to happen. Because growth ultimately is this stretching of yourself into a higher state or into a new degree, and sometimes that's uncomfortable. So really just changing our perspective with regards to discomfort, because we've been conditioned so often to think that when things are uncomfortable, you run, you hide, you get away from it, something's wrong. And this is part of your authentic growth,
Mm-hmm.
because even stepping into your authenticity, it requires you being willing to stand alone, because you're one of a kind. So you got to stand up and just be you. And sometimes that feels uncomfortable as well. But, it's all part of the process. And the more that you pour into yourself and you carve out space to honor yourself, to listen to yourself, to love on yourself, and be compassionate with yourself, the more you realize that, yeah, you are one of a kind and you are fantastic. It's on purpose. Like, it's on purpose for you to be this great one of a kind and with that, you're willing to stand alone, because you're like, look, everybody, look at what God made when He made me. you know
Exactly.
and again, it's not about comparison, because it's not about, oh,
Mm.
look at me, I'm better than anyone. It's like, no, look at me, I'm fabulous, and you're fabulous, and they're fabulous, and she's fabulous, and he's fabulous. We're all wonderfully made.
Absolutely. And you get to that point where you look in the mirror and you love what you see inside and out, because it's not just external. But how, like I said, how do you feel when you wake up in the morning, when you look at yourself, when you look at your walk? Because it takes you, and it takes courage to create space for your growth, because that's it. That's expansion happening. That's a process of expansion and opening up to different avenues, exploring deeper parts of yourself, you know, getting different opportunities, all that. So it takes big courage to make that space for yourself. And even like bringing it back to previous episodes when we was talking about creating boundaries, because when you sign up to say I'm making space for my authentic growth, those are big shoes to fill, because you're taking the leadership role. You're being proactive in your life, and that requires you to be proactive and do things that you probably wouldn't normally do. And like you said, doing those uncomfortable things, going through the uncomfortable, and setting boundaries, not just with other people, setting boundaries with yourself. Just think about the whole comparison thing. Now you're putting yourself in a whole state of mental turmoil and confusion, and you created that for yourself when you're comparing and you're looking at other people's lives. So you have to create practices and things for yourself to keep you in balance. So set up, practices like, okay, if you're used to just scrolling and you're seeing how other people are doing, and you know, set a boundary with yourself not to get on social media other than to put out your content, and do what you need to do for yourself on there. Be intentional about the things that you're doing when you're creating these boundaries, and understand that although creating boundaries with yourself, your loved ones, it can be challenging, but it's for you. It's for your growth. That's the intention behind setting boundaries. And the only thing you need to know is you're doing this for yourself. This is creating space for you to thrive and you to be and just thrive in your authenticity. And how someone else reacts to that, that's none of your business. So it's going to be huge that you create energetic boundaries. You got to protect your energy when you're creating space, because there are going to be people who do not like your growth. They see, they're looking, there's people looking at your life and seeing the growth that you're, the trajectory that you're on, and they may not like that. But it's on you to tune out all that noise and on how people react to your growth and how you walk your path. So that's how you set those energetic boundaries. If you're sharing new things with someone, and whether it's a loved one or a friend, and they're not excited about it, or they try to undermine it, or they say something negative about it, or try to project fear onto you, that's the time for you to create a boundary, an energetic boundary, and protect yourself. Because if you're vibing high, you got this thing, you know what you're doing, you're taking the proper steps and the actions to do what you need to do, and you feeling good about it, you feeling good, you love what you see in the mirror, you got to block that noise out. The people that are unsure about themselves and them paths, you can't allow those energies to seep in on that high vibing that you have going on within yourself. Because when you're on your go, there are gonna be many distractions that come to kind of take you back into that old. And you got to think about it. If you already are, beating up on yourself, and you're not having that positive self-talk with yourself, and you already having your own self-doubt, those people outside of you who don't want to see your growth and aren't happy about it, and those who are going to project things onto you to knock you off your square, you wouldn't allow that from anyone. You're going to create those boundaries effortlessly because you have no space for that. You only have space for growth. You only have space for people who help you to grow. You're putting yourself in an environment and only allowing individuals in that create that space for you to thrive in your authenticity and to be. And you can be in that space and you can be growth. You can grow and not have to worry about how someone is feeling about your growth. It's safe for you to grow because you created that safe space for yourself. So anytime you feel any push or pull from, I don't care if it's a loved one, business partner, whoever, when you feel that and you know the path that you're going on, you need to separate yourself and create those energetic boundaries so that you can stay on your path and not be knocked off, because things are going to come to try to take your attention, and your attention, your focus, that's a valuable asset. So be mindful of where you put your attention and your focus. If it's not growing or watering you in any kind of way, then it's a weed. You got to get rid of it.
Right.
So think about that. Boundaries are going to be a huge thing. Set those boundaries with yourself. Think about the things within yourself that you need to create. Okay, if it's in the entertainment that you're watching, certain things that you're viewing online in your spare time, if it's not what you desire to see in your life and it's not really helping you, then maybe you need to leave it alone. If you're tuning into things that upset you, that frustrate you, then it's time for you to tune into something else, because what if you're paying attention to it, that's taking your focus off of what you need to do, and you're not making space. You're creating your own energetic blockages and blocking your desires from coming in, because things could probably come in sooner for you, the things that you truly desire for yourself. But you have to be the one that creates yourself. You got to ask yourself, what am I doing? Like, am I blocking my own desires from reaching me? It's a you thing. It's on you. It's big shoes to fill when you're making space for your growth. And so now we're down to our last minute. LJ, if you want to say something to take us out, I'll let you say
Yes.
it so we can get up out of here.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, so one of the things that I highly recommend with regards to, making space for your authentic growth is to create a morning gratitude practice. And I mean, we hear all the time, oh, do a gratitude practice. But I think that the morning is a key time because the things that you do first thing in the morning hold priority for you. You know what I mean? You're giving them the first place. So they're holding highest position, first position in your day. And so to start the day off with gratitude will invite gratitude into your life. And gratitude, yes, it's us being grateful for things. However, it brings with it feelings of peace, of joy, of contentment, of clarity. Because when you're grateful, you know what you're grateful for. You're not confused about it. There's no wishy-washiness. And
Mhm.
so by doing this first thing in the morning, so you're carving out space for yourself. You're being intentional about
Mhm.
setting this pattern into motion for being grateful for things. And as we're grateful, then we begin to see more things to be grateful for. So it's like we're forming this perspective of just being a grateful person, which is what will help us on our journey. And so for myself, I do a morning gratitude practice. And so what I do is I thank God each morning for seven things. And I use the number seven is very intentional because it's a number of perfection and completion. And so I'm inviting those energies first thing in the morning into my day. The energies of perfection and completion. And granted, we know nobody's perfect, and I'm not trying to be perfect. It's not about you trying to be perfect. It's about you inviting in that which is perfect, the source of all creation, God, the universe, all of the spiritual things that we can't see that are made in this perfect way and that are operating in this cosmic system that's beyond our comprehension. You're inviting that in. You know what I mean? So that, and seven also being a number of completion, so meaning that everything is whole and complete. I don't have to worry about if I'm going to be left hanging, or if something's going to be insufficient or inadequate. I'm dispelling that as I do this practice. So I invite you to do this morning gratitude practice where you can either audibly out loud or just write it down in a journal. Be thankful for seven things and write down seven things you're thankful for. The first one that I always thank God for is life on that day. I'm like, thank you for this gift, because I could not be here and I'm here. So I received that as a gift. And so as you do this consistently, each day, you begin to feel your awareness and your internal gratitude, I guess, meter going up. You start feeling more grateful because you're consistently refocusing your mind to things to be grateful for, because we're surrounded with ceaseless amounts of things that are blessings. You know what I mean? And unless we're intentional about actually counting our blessings, we miss out on them. And so as you carve out this time, it's creating space for you to really increase your awareness of being grateful, which ultimately evolves into you just feeling good about yourself because you're like, man, I'm so blessed. Like, I don't got to worry about nothing. All is well, but again, it's a daily practice and it requires you to commit to yourself, not only to the practice, but this is a commitment that you make to yourself to begin to expand your awareness and open up your perspective so that you can recognize how truly blessed you are. And once you recognize that, then I mean, that nothing can stop you because everything is working for you.
I
So
know that's right.
that's my 25 cents.
Look, that was valuable information. And to sum it up, y'all, gratitude is the attitude. Now, as
Yes.
we close out, we always say, whether you've been on your journey for a while or you're just beginning your journey, know that there's always room for more self discovery and personal growth. We'll see y'all next time. Have a good one.
Peace.